It's been a very busy offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very, they got the new coach in town. Doug Peterson comes in. Fortunately, you still have Trent Baalke around, which probably explains some of the contracts that you handed out in free agency.
Oh, yeah, you've been spending money like a drunk college kid who stole daddy's credit card. And most of them have been bad. And that's not me just being a dick to Jacksonville. $84 million for Christian Kirk is insane. Yep. I understand that there's some incentive there. That's insanity. I get putting weapons around Trevor Lawrence, but why did you spend at all of the positions that you could have used the unbelievable amount of draft capital you have? That's the thing I don't get.
Yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a bevy of picks.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
It's actually $1 billion picks. This video might be 2 hours long by the end of it.
It's not going to be quite that long, but we appreciate you hanging in here with us for the Jacksonville Jaguars post-free agency 7-round mock draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars, for the second year in a row, have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They got the quarterback last year. Thank God, because there's no quarterback to be had at number 1 this year. But
I was the first one to tell you Drake London was going to.
Yes.
Weird how many times you're seeing that now.
Mm-hmm.
I was also the first one to tell you Sauce Gardner was going to be the number 1 corner. I'm telling you right now, this is how this is going to go. If you want to make money on it, you can use our promo code Sportsocracy. Go to betus.com and put $100 on Trayvon Walker to go number 1. That will pay you $2,200, and I will promise you it's going to happen.
With the number 1 pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker, edge rusher from Georgia.
The thing they love about this kid is that he can do everything, and he's a physical freak. All right, we've been doing athletic – I don't remember the term. It's not spark testing, but it's in the same vein.
Mm-hmm.
How many players, not defensive linemen, how many players have ever tested higher than Trayvon Walker?
I'm going to guess.
I think it's 25 years.
I'm going to guess
some odd years.
15. 3?
3.
Wow.
He's the 4th biggest athletic freak that has ever been tested coming into the NFL Combine. He's a freak of nature, and he can do damn near anything.
No.
His high side is higher than anybody in this draft. He's played defensive tackle. He's played defensive end. Looking at the way that Jacksonville aligns, I look at him as being a hybrid mutant of a human, probably standing up. He might be the first player I've ever evaluated that has at some point played defensive tackle, and I look at him and go, you could stand up in the NFL.
Wow.
But I also think he can play 3-4 end on the other side of Fatukasi, who you just gave the money to from the Jets. There's a lot of scheme versatility that comes with Trayvon Walker, and his upside's incredibly high.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my one question, and nobody has been able to answer it yet. Why did he never produce at Georgia?
I can't
tell
you
There was
that.
never high-level production from him, and he was on the most talented defense I've ever seen. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. I'm a Georgia fan and watched Georgia football way more than Jeremy did. And I when I started hearing that Trayvon Walker was possibly going to be a consideration for the top pick in the draft, I went, why? I mean, I get all of the physical tools, and we saw what he could do at the combine, and that's fine. And he's a great player. Back into the first round, maybe I would buy that. I don't see it, but there again, I'm not a professional evaluator.
Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's not a good player, because he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very versatile. He can do a lot of things. I understand why people like him. I don't understand why you like him at 1. That's the thing I can't understand. And they've already got the private workout scheduled, so you can call me an idiot all you want to. One of two things is the case. Either I'm right, and this is in serious consideration, and based off what I already know they think about Aidan Hutchinson, unless he goes in there and shows his wiener to somebody, I don't look in any way that this is going to be anybody but Trayvon Walker. Now, if he does that, then, all bets are off. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows how things are going to go down.
The thing that catches me about Trayvon Walker is that there have been, over the course of time, there have been some players that they didn't necessarily produce in college, and we missed on them. And now it's he didn't produce, but he was on a great defense, and he was always around the ball, blah, 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 blah. I think it's an overreaction. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player. I'm not. Because I think he will be a good player in the NFL. I just would not personally take him at 1. Now, if you're going for upside, if you're Jacksonville and you're like, look, we're in the AFC that is completely fucking loaded. There is no shot we're even half-ass competitive for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at it going, who could be the best player in this draft? It's Trayvon Walker. That part I get.
Yep.
Could also be one that comes back to bite you in the ass because, well, Kayvon Thibodeau's not a nice person and he feels himself a lot and he's kind of an asshole. You know, he's going to be good. He's going to be good, and there's 3 really convenient places for him to land that could make you look absolutely out of your mind. Now, if you hit this, it's one of those we look back on and go, ooh, that was Mario Williams over Reggie Bush, wasn't it?
Right.
We thought you were a dumbass. No, you weren't.
Not so much. I will say this. It's going to be a scary pass rush tandem with him and Josh Allen
I would
down
agree.
there in Jacksonville.
I would agree.
Regardless. Whether he's worth the first number 1 pick in the draft, we'll just have to see. And if he's not, it's just the offseason of overpays for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the top of the second round, 33 overall, you got him taking Jaquan Brisker. Crazy athletic safety out of Penn State.
Freak of nature. 35 and a half foot triple jump, 10 and a half foot standing broad jump, good in coverage. This is one of the best coverage strong safeties I've ever seen. Plus, he can play down in the box and absolutely knock your head off. There's one drawback to him. I think some of his ability to diagnose plays got covered at Penn State because there was so much talent on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that his eyes got locked in the backfield and he didn't see things until it's too late. That's why he falls to the beginning of the second round. That being said, it wasn't that common. It was common enough to be bothersome, but not common enough to be, oh, maybe we should revisit taking him. I could see him going in the first round. To me, he pairs nicely in that Jacksonville secondary. You know, you look at Darius Williams, who's a smaller guy. You look at Shaquille Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not in love with, and I never have been. This is your strong safety that comes in and starts right away. This is day one, no doubt, starter territory. And I feel very sure that somebody's going to say this, so I'm going to cut its feet out immediately. But what about Rayshon Jenkins? I don't care how much you paid him. He sucks something awful, and he has absolutely no credits or debits with Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, that's who's calling the shots here.
As he should be, because Trent Baalke should not be making calls anymore.
He shouldn't be making calls to Domino's. So
Agreed.
Which why you would call Domino's, I don't know. Call fucking Pizza Hut and gets that spicy lovers pizza that's fucking delicious.
It is delicious.
God, that thing tastes like happiness.
2 picks in the third round for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The first at 65 overall. Daniel Falele, the big mountain of a tackle out of Minnesota.
Super projection. He's 6'9", 380.
Mm-hmm.
I think he came in at 387 at the combine, ran a 5'6". He's not this hyper-athletic kid that everybody talks about, but he's a mountain.
Yep.
I do believe he could come in right away and start at right tackle. The problem with him is going to be, and look, I've said that I have long had this theory, and it's getting worse every single year. I am getting to the point of I do not want an offensive tackle that is taller than 6'5", because virtually every one of them have the same problem. They play like they have a 2x4 jammed up their ass, and any squatty pass rusher that can play leverage just eviscerates them.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have that problem forever. Now, conversely, if you try to overpower him, he will eat you for lunch. I just see him as a right tackle. I think he's a kid that can come in right away and play right tackle, and you're going to be able to, even if you have to help him. All right, I know it's not going to be Evan Ingram because Evan Ingram couldn't block me. Give me a minute on that.
Okay.
I got something
right
for you there. I think he is a better player. The diagnosis on him has completely changed. All right, so people saw him and he was a mountain and he was half-ass athletic, of which for his size he's freakishly athletic. He's just not that athletic in a phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
And people freaked out, and then the evaluation got too high, and people were talking about him in the first round, and that didn't make any sense. Then now it's gotten too low. People are talking about him falling into day 3. That's stupid. I mean, there are guys, in terms of right tackles, I would rather have Nick Petit-Ferrer than him. And that's about it. Of guys that are, I think, have no shot to play left tackle.
Right.
That's it. So it's plug-and-play starter, and he's a hell of a lot better than Jawan Taylor.
Well, after the Senior Bowl, there was a lot of talk about Daniel Falele being moved to the inside. Because he
And
was getting beat by speed
that's,
rushers.
Okay, so that's your worst case scenario is that you move him to guard.
Mm-hmm.
You try him at right tackle, it doesn't work, you move him to guard, and he'll be fine there for 10 years. I think, and this is the humor to me of the Senior Bowl. All right, so there are times that you can see that and go, yes, that's really relevant and it matters. Do you realize how many edge rushers were at the Senior Bowl?
Had to be a bunch.
It was a shitload.
Yeah.
It was 6 that are going to go in the first 2 days. So you get a guy like Boye Mafe that's really fast and really squatty that's going up in one-on-one drills with Daniel Faalele. Of course he's beating his brains out.
Right. That's
not NFL football.
Yeah, there's
though.
nowhere for Daniel Faalele to push him, maybe get some help with it.
I'm going to be real honest with you. The next time that you have a one-on-one to score a touchdown, to see if an offensive lineman can block an edge rusher, you let me fucking know.
Right.
I've been doing this for a decade. I ain't never seen it once.
Right.
So that's where I feel like the movement has come. And now it's gotten to a stupid point, and to me, here for Jacksonville at 65, this would be a value.
Absolutely. At number 70, I guess this is the one you were talking about, Trey McBride, tight end from Colorado State.
But we signed Evan Ingram. Yeah, you're really quickly going to realize why you didn't have a shitload of competition for him. Because Evan Ingram has hands of stone. Can you generate him touches? Yes, but he is not your long-term solution. There are so many tight ends in this class that they're getting pushed down. And Trey McBride, to me, is one of the most technically sound tight ends I've ever seen. This is Dan Arnold on steroids. This is the security blanket to Trevor Lawrence. And I fully believe that you're going to see Evan Ingram's going to be a toy. He's not a good tight end. He sure as hell isn't a $10 million tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll just level with you. I'm a Jets fan. We signed C.J. Uzomah 3 years, $24 million. You're 1 year at $10 million for Evan Ingram. I like my side of this way better, and I didn't love C.J. Uzomah. For what they're going to want to do, and just think of Doug Peterson in Philadelphia with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz.
Yep.
Evan Ingram can be the Zach Ertz because he couldn't play dead in the Western in terms of blocking. Trey McBride would be your Dallas Goedert. And I think that really helps both Faalele and Trevor Lawrence.
Agreed. In the 4th round, they have the 106th pick in the draft. You got him taking Marcus Jones out of Houston, cornerback and kick returner.
And he's the best kick returner in the draft, so you have to talk about that. That's not why he's getting drafted. It does help because he is a ball in his hands. He's real hard to stop. He's short. That's really the reason that he falls down here. But he's even – I genuinely think Marcus Jones could play some Tyrann Mathieu-type safety because he's a good tackler, especially for his size. The thing is that you're going to have to be selective. If you put him on a 6'2 receiver, he's going to revert to what he's done his entire career, which is grab them. Mm-hmm. That's the reason he's here. On technical skill alone, he is better than a 106 overall 4th rounder, especially when you mix in how dangerous he is in the return game. It's that you're going to have to specifically scheme him. That's what becomes a bit of a problem. To me, that's not a problem. If I'm Jacksonville, I am trying to accumulate as much talent as humanly possible. Slot corner is a need for me anyway, so I'm just going to slot him in the slot and go, hey, you go do fun shit with kicks. Because we're going to be catching a lot of them because we're going to give up a fuckload of points.
In the 5th round, 157th overall pick, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Onterio Drummond, wide receiver from Ole Miss.
I've made this comparison a lot because I think this guy has created a new position in the NFL. If you didn't look at their faces, he is built exactly like Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
Like if you just put a bag over his head, you would swear they are the same person. But he's a much better deep threat. It was used in a lot of gimmicky ways at Ole Miss, but I'm not overly worried about that. Needs to learn how to run routes better. You're going to have to broaden the route tree for him. But he's a really good deep threat. I mean, a really high-end deep threat. And at 6'1", 215, which is what I think he came in at the combine, the only reason he's here is because he ran a 4.65. And I'm going to level you, I don't care. I've watched him play.
Mm-hmm.
So, the combine, people get worried about straight-line combine speed. I'm going to say the same thing about running a 40-yard dash that I said about Daniel Faalele and running the Oklahoma drill. The next time we have a 40-yard dash to see if you put 3 points on the board, you call me and let me know.
We're through the 5th round, and the Jacksonville Jaguars still have 6 picks to go here in the post-free agency 7-round mock draft from the Sportsocracy, always live in the Ingalls studio. At the 180th pick overall in the 6th round, Chasen Hines, guard from LSU.
I am so much higher on this kid than the industry is, because I think he has one patent problem, and all you have to do is fix that, and he's as good as his guard mate at LSU, Ed Ingram, who, by the way, went in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
He plays too high. He's 6'3", 350. The weight's also a bit of a concern, but okay, you're going to have to pay attention to what he eats.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that come into this league that you're going to have to pay attention to the nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the bad tape was because he played too high. And so leverage became a problem, and he's just not fast enough. He's going to play guard in the NFL. I'm not overly worried about that. And if you catch him here at, 180?
180.
That's insane value. This is one of my top 125 players in this draft.
With one major flaw, you can get him in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and there are people that are afraid he's going to eat himself out of the league. But there are certain teams that will just never draft guys that are this big.
Right, but in the 6th round, is it not worth taking that risk?
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm Jacksonville. I am a talent evaluator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, who's the best player on the board? Chasen Hines. What positions he play? Oh, I have a button for this. Let's ask Joe Exotic.
Who the fuck cares?
I don't care what position he plays. But we have 2 guards. Don't give a shit.
Right.
Daniel Falele might end up a guard.
Who the fuck cares?
Get players. This kid's a player.
And
he's a great run blocker, by the way.
Yeah. At 188 overall, still in the 6th round here, Christopher Hinton, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Okay, so this is where projection starts coming in. When you have this many picks, you can start shooting for the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, Christopher Hinton is not one of the 190 best players in this draft. However, if you move him to 3-4 end, which is where I think he plays in the NFL, but he's a very good pass rusher, 6'4", 310. He's just not overly fast. And people worry about, well, he doesn't hold up that well against the run. I don't need him to. I've got Foley Fatukasi that I just paid money to, that's the only thing he does. Trust me, I'm a Jets fan. You'll see it soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need him to do that. This is a project piece 2 years down the road, and I think he could be, if you really put the time in this kid, I think he could be a high-level pass rush 3-4 end. He's not J.J. Watt, but he could be a sub-package guy at worst. I think he could be a sub-package pass rush outside end in the 3-4, and he pairs nicely with Fatukasi. You're just going to be patient. Didn't even play 1,000 snaps in college, and the vast majority of those were against the pass.
9 picks later at 197 overall, Jacksonville Jaguars could get Damari Mathis, cornerback out of Pittsburgh.
And this is a fun grade because there's people that think he'll end up being a safety because he's a better tackler, run coverage guy than he is straight cover guy. He likes to play mind games, and I think it makes him look worse than he is. There are a few corners that do this. They're so fast, and this kid ran a 4.39, so he's blindingly fast.
Mm-hmm.
They'll bait quarterbacks. Well, the problem with Damari Mathis is there were times, especially against Sam Howell, that he tried to bait the quarterback, and the quarterback went, okay, watch this.
Yeah, I'll take
and
it.
burn his ass. And it made him look bad. And so people started going, well, he's a safety. Not necessarily. Now, I think he can do that if that's what you're after because he is very good against the run. One of the better run-defending corners in this draft. If I had $1 for every corner we talked about, that the biggest knock on them was that they could not tackle, I would probably have $47 US, which doesn't sound like much, but it's 47 fucking times.
Mm-hmm.
Damari Mathis does not have this problem.
At number 198, the immediate next pick, Darius Butler, linebacker from Arizona State.
This kid's getting some more hype, and he may end up going higher than this. And a lot of it started coming out today. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in this draft. To me, he slots in either as a Mike in a 4-3 or as an interior linebacker in 3-4, which is where I think he's better. And he needs to be paired with somebody, and I know he's not on this team anymore, but take the journey with me for a second.
Okay.
He needs to be paired with somebody like Miles Jack. That's just a crazy person,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of with his hair on fire at all times. Foye Oluokun is the same kind of player. And I look at just looking at their base defense, I could see Darius Butler being the second starter, the second starting linebacker immediately because he's that good in coverage. The problem is he couldn't tackle one of my children. He is not a good tackler at all.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from there are certain players that are, especially when you see players that are this good in coverage, their goal is for the ball to hit the ground. But then you leverage them into, okay, I'm coming right at you, and you get into arm tackling. He's not very big. I do think that's going to be a problem. I mean, because he's corner-sized. He's 6 foot, about 220, and not blindingly fast, which is why I think you'll be able to get him here. That's why I'm not as high. You start getting a lot of smoke right here a month before the draft, and guys that I'm looking at why the GM's going to go out. Okay, you tell me you're going to take him in the 3rd round, but I'm going to call bullshit, and I will believe you when I see his name come across the ticker on draft night. But now he would be a value here, and I think it would be – there are so few linebackers that can cover like this. In this draft, the only ones really are him. Brandon Smith is the only one that's really in the same ballpark as him. Okay. There are a few others that are close but not quite as good. But he is small.
And Brandon Smith is a guy who's going to go in the 2nd round?
Late 2nd, early 3rd.
Late 2nd, early 3rd.
And I love Brandon Smith, by the way.
So, again, could be a home run pick at the end of the 6th round for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Getting down to the 7th round now. Still 2 picks to go. Number 223 overall, Noah Ellis. Nose tackle from Idaho.
He's the only player in this draft that I know for a fucking fact that if I ran a 40 against him, I would be the faster of the two.
Really?
He ran a 5.66 at the combine.
That's not great.
No. But here's the thing I didn't tell you.
He weighs 400 pounds.
He's 6'4", 360 pounds.
Oh.
He's a lot of human.
Yeah.
Very raw. Played at Idaho. There's only one way for me to really nicely say this. He's built like Tarzan, and there's times he plays like Jane. This is a huge, strong, stout guy. And he was eaten up by double teams. He tried to spin out of it or finesse guys. Just go through them.
Right.
You're going to have to work with him. And he may be an undrafted free agent. I just think there's enough natural talent there, and he's raw enough that in a specific setting, I could see him being a nose tackle or a rotational nose tackle in the league. Is he ever going to be a Pro Bowler? No, he's not. But there is a value to a guy that's built like a double-wide trailer that's strong as a moose, and that's what Noah Ellis is.
At 236 overall, the final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Luke Wattenberg, center, Washington.
There is something to be said for having a center on your roster that's just really bright and played a ton of snaps in college. Kid played almost 3,000 snaps in college.
That's a lot. 43
games. Is he great at anything right now? No. He's not a great run blocker. He's not a great pass blocker. He's just very smart. This is a kid that, and I think the average fan underestimates this because you watch tape and go, well, there's nothing physically imposing about him. I didn't say there was. This is a 7th round draft pick. All right, we're to the 236th player taken in this draft. You're not getting Alex Mack at this point. What this kid provides is a smart guy in the room. You have a lot of young offensive linemen on this team, and between him and Brandon Sheriff, you got 2 of the smarter offensive linemen in this league. Offensive linemen in this league. No such thing as linemen. I think there's a value to that. And he's talented enough to be drafted on his merits anyway. But you get to this point, center's not great in this draft, and he's a depth piece. He can play at guard as well. You're going to have to know he's about as athletic as a wet fart. So, not going to get a lot of twitchy out of this guy.
Right.
But I do think he has a value, and I think he has a place in this league.
A lot of changes down in Jacksonville for this offseason, and you've got a treasure trove of picks coming up in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars post-free agency 7-round mock draft.
Did it in 24 minutes. Mic drop. If you like these picks, if you don't like these picks, if you think I'm a big ginger mulleted man bun dipshit and you can do better, feel free to comment in your comments, your mock drafts. I'll grade those as well. And if there's a player you'd like to know how they fit with your Jacksonville Jaguar, comment those. One thing I have been super pleasantly surprised, because this is our first year with a YouTube channel really to do this. We had one last year, but we were too stupid to use it. So
Yeah.
if you found us last year,
True.
God bless your soul, you must have been fucking looking for us because we didn't know how to make you see us. I've been pleasantly surprised at mock drafts that are fired at me. When I first started doing this, people would throw out some random Peckerwood that would have not been in my top 1,000. Now, really informed it, and I'm really enjoying it. There's been a couple guys that I've actually had to take a second look at of what is it that you're seeing. It's really impressive how the wealth of information we have now, how much more informed fans are. I used to be one of the only ones that went, hey, the draft, that's my shit. And I was the one that would have to tell all my friends, yeah, he sucks. You shouldn't have drafted him. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Hey, while you're here, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to get all of our team-by-team content throughout the Draftmas season. This will not be the last mock draft that we do.
2 more before the draft. One of them the day before.
That's right. We got 2 more coming, so keep it locked in. And, of course, join us live in the Ingles studio every weekday afternoon at 3. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene.
Yeah.
This is the Sportsocracy, and we will see you next time.